Level 2, Elementally Intuitive Movement 101, focusing on our centers as we expand into our spheres. Today is windy, so I have to choose a different space to work in. Because nature is my stage, I have to adapt to the changes in my environment. I like working with nature. Texas is funny because it changes a lot. So it forces me to adapt to change, and I appreciate that. My favorite kind of weather is changing. So if you like changing weather, Texas. Although it is very red right now in Texas, it's true. I live in a bluer area, and that's okay. It's good, actually. I prefer living in a bluer area. It works for me. I'm a blue kind of gal. More blue than red, but I do appreciate all the colors on the spectrum. We gotta learn how to work together. When you mix together red and blue, you get purple, you get lavender, and we still gotta collaborate. We still gotta work together. We still live in communities. We share. Collaboration is the root of cooperation. Cooperation is the root of collaboration. They work together. So, today, we are focusing on our breath, yes? Inhale through our nostrils, exhale either through nostril or through mouth. You can alternate, experiment, play around with it. Focus on one for a couple minutes, do the other for a couple minutes, alternate, play around with it, but predominantly inhale through your nostrils because our noses are filtering, yeah? And then focus, where are my feet? Today I have my foundation, my base is different, but because level 2, we're stationary spheres, it's okay. I don't have to worry too much about what my feet are doing because it's more about what my upper body's doing and learning to move through space while I'm planted in space. So if anything, having less space to move is great because it helps to illustrate even better what we're doing with our upper bodies. And you see that you don't need a lot of space to aim. You can aim very well, hardly moving your feet at all, and get a lot of motion in our bodies. Level O, level 1, we focused on this can part of our core and our diaphragm being the top, the pelvic girdle being the bottom, and then the abdominal corset wall going all the way around, also including our back, providing the support and stability. And so they help to hold our spine upright, they hold our organs in place. And level 2, as we expand into our spheres, we're now moving up to the top of our centers. And so our diaphragm kind of is the divider here, and the diaphragm serves to support both the lower. When we inhale, it goes down. When we exhale, it goes up. As we inhale, it helps to pull the air into our lungs. As we exhale, it helps to push it out. So our diaphragm is serving both the lower part of our centers and the upper part of our centers. Here we have our lungs, our heart. And what facilitates this expansion into our spheres is this multi-axial joint that we have here. Our shoulder is a ball and socket joint. So are our hips. Now our hips are deep in the socket. Our shoulders are not very deep in our socket. It's a shallower socket so that we can have lots of dynamic motion with our arms and access all sorts of planes. Axes. So we've got our diagonal, we've got our horizontal, we've got diagonal, horizontal, vertical. And so we can move through all of these planes thanks to our shoulders being very dynamic joints. Now, what holds the humerus, the top part of our arm here, our upper arm, our humerus, that's why it's the funny bone. This is the end of the humerus. And so you hit the end of the funny bone, humerus. We have 4 muscles that provide support here across the top, a large one that comes from a scapula, that wing, in the back, one that comes from the front, and another one that comes from underneath. And so that's providing support to keep our humerus supported in that joint. But along with those muscles, we have our pectoral muscles that help provide motion. We have our latissimus muscle, which is a large back muscle. It inserts into the humerus. And so that's helping us do movements. We've got our deltoids, which are up here, but they start attached to the center. Where they originate is the center, and then they go out, and then they help to pull up or pull forward or pull back. So when we're working our arms and mobilizing our arms, we're also working and mobilizing all of these other muscles that are the accessory muscles for arm motion. And to access space in our spheres, we need to move not just our arms, but our entire centers. And I'm hinging at my hips, taking advantage of that hip hinge, keeping my spine supported because I want my spine to be stacked instead of curved when I apply gravity to this lever that I've created. So I want my back to be as straight of a lever as it can be so that the vertebra, or rather the discs in between the vertebra, are more evenly spaced out versus angled in a way that is more likely to cause distress or weakness or malfunction potentially. We can mix in some ones, do some more O's. And we recognize as we're coming off our centers, the motion coming from the center of the body. And maintaining those planes as we're moving through space. Regardless what direction we're deciding to go, whether it's more of a curvilinear rotary motion or which puts us making more diagonal plane movements with our bodies, or vertical or horizontal, maintain the plane. This is how we're training our muscles to support us as we move through space. And the more slowly we move, the more challenging it becomes. But the more slowly we move, the more we're training our body to support us through the motion, and not only my arms, but also my entire body supporting the movement of what I'm doing. And then we can speed it up. The more slowly we practice, the more graceful it looks when we speed it up, and the less likely we are to injure ourselves. So go slow. Remember to check in. Am I inhaling through my nostrils? Where are my feet? Am I hinging? Is my abdominal wall supporting me? Am I holding myself up? Is my diaphragm engaging when I'm breathing? Because as we pay attention to how we're moving and how it feels. Just a few minutes a day, consciously, we're training our autopilots to move through those same patterns of motion. And because we're exploring, curiously, different ways to access space within our spheres, with our feet planted, we're creating new maps of movement. The more that we practice moving around in these different spaces in different ways, the more our nervous system develops and establishes those maps. So it becomes automatic to follow the most effective and efficient path to do whatever it is that our bodies need to do in that moment. And practice makes better. All right, y'all. Thank you so much. Level 2, level 3 coming at you in a few days, where we'll have more space and we will expand even further as we become mobile spheres and mix in all of our levels, 0, 1, 2, as we're moving around and paying attention to all of those things and really starting to juggle some spheres of attention. All right, thank you.